discussing for several months now. We had the public hearing that was closed a few months ago, and then we received some correspondence, and we're still within our 62-day period for our interpretation, our determination. So I'd like to, at this point, kind of just continue the discussion where we left off before, with comments from the board, and then after that we'll proceed with our determination.
Is your mic on?
My mic is on. Thank you for checking with me. All right, any comments? Well, we have an exceedingly large amount of paperwork that we've been going through.
Well, I'll start off since I have the benefit of having covered all of this from the paperwork, having missed the public hearing. And I've read Arlene's detailed and very detailed minutes and all the materials submitted by the applicants, as well as the findings and decision draft. And, you know, to me, the case really boils down to that Section 250-80B, which speaks in very general language to the purpose of the zoning code as to limit the expansion of non-conforming uses. And that language essentially prohibiting intensification of use, to me, was the really operative phrase in all of this. There are a lot of details that the interpretation and the findings and decision goes into, but for me, that was, you know, it boiled down to essentially, you know, our job as a ZBA to interpret that general language, and to my mind, going from the current 66 or what appears to be the permitted 68 beds to 99, sort of by any definition of the word intensification, constitutes an intensification, particularly given all of the testimony and all of the information provided by some of the speakers about the increased demand on town services and the increased activity in the area. So,
Yeah, thank you. During the different public hearings that we had, we heard from several of the neighbors and those that have been at Cornerstone, you know, both speaking in opposition and support of it, and several letters and correspondence from the attorneys that we've received, kind of stating these various different opinions that we've had to sort through and go through. Ron?
I guess I'd like to make a comment, if I could. Throughout all of these meetings and discussions, particularly during public comment period, it has been implied, and in some cases even directly stated, that
Yeah, there we go. I see that.
there's a twin.
YouTube didn't pick up after the recess.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, I did post it yet, so I'm waiting for Brandon to give it to me. The link. I'm posting it now.
All right. Thank you.
There you go.
Sorry about that.
All right.
Tell them they can watch it.
Okay.
All right.
Ron,
Can
go
I
ahead.
resume?
Yes.
I just wanted to sort of set the record straight, if I could. There were comments made that anyone in opposition to what Cornerstone is and what Cornerstone does sort of had a disregard or lack of empathy for the organization and the people that they treat. And I want to tell you personally, and I think I can speak on behalf of my colleagues, that could not be further from the truth. Probably the most difficult piece of this is the work that Cornerstone does and the people that they treat. I don't think any of us, probably most of us, if not all of us on the board, know people who have been affected by drugs and alcohol, particularly, in this day and age where it is so rampant and prevalent. None of these discussions, none of these decisions were taken lightly by myself or anyone else on this board. Extremely difficult to get through, and when you think about all the people in your lives that could be or have been affected by something that Cornerstone could impact, it weighs heavily in each piece of this. So I want the people that expressed that concern to know that it was definitely a concern on my part, and I believe my colleagues' part as well. All of that said, we still have a job to do here, and our job is to interpret the law and the code. Cornerstone presented many accreditations and certifications, OASIS, et cetera. But at the end of the day, local code still prevails, and that is, another consideration or another factor in my decision tonight. That's all I have at this point, Joseph. Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. John, have any comments to?
Just like to kind of back up what Ron said. There isn't a part of me that isn't sympathetic to the mission of Cornerstone. I was in education for 39 years, and my experience with young people who struggled with these addictions was almost daily. And it's very hard to separate now, the responsibility that you have to the town in defending its code, interpreting its code, with your emotional side. And I understand your concerns, Ron, 100%, and I share them. And I would just hope that going forward, Cornerstone can somehow build more bridges in the community so that more people understand the mission. And, so you can all be better neighbors to each other.
Thank you, John.
May I?
Yeah, let me get it for you.
Okay.
There you go.
I want to agree with my colleagues here. I'm going to say very little because it's a very emotional topic for me, from family experiences. And a lot of time and thought has been put into this. A lot of time and thought. And that's all I can say.
Thank you. Russ, any comments?
I just like to add that I also feel I have some experiences in my family unit, the kind of experiences that kind of things in life. It's very bad, it's serious. And like the comment said, this is really all about the law. It's really about anything to do with the serious and the support.
Thank you, Frank. Russ?
I'm not as good a public speaker as my colleagues here are, but I lost a nephew and a niece, both to alcoholism, both about 50 years old. So we've all been affected by alcohol and drugs. I was a career where I dealt with people all the time that had that problem for 21 years. And another career for 15 years that I dealt with a lot of these problems. So we're all sympathetic, but the bottom line comes down to our interpretation of the zoning law, and we have to apply our decisions based upon that, irregardless of our sympathies, and we can't let ourselves be clouded by those sympathies. So we have all made, I think, a determination which reflects our duty to perform here, and that's what we try to do best.
Thank you. Charles, do you have anything else? Just
Well, it will become clear in the findings and decision that our conclusion is a bit of a double-edged sword, because as a pre-existing non-conforming use, I think we're essentially concluding that Cornerstone is outside of the planning board purview. And ideally, my personal hope would have been that there was a way to have Cornerstone work with the neighbors and work with the town to resolve the conflicts and ensure the safe operation of that facility. So still my hope that there is a way to make that happen. But this is the issue of the expansion of use doesn't, resolving that issue doesn't resolve these other concerns that people have. And so that is still something that hopefully there is a way to address.
thank you. That being said, I'll start by reading the resolution approving the findings and decisions dated August 31st, 2021.
22.
That's true. Let's make that correction. Thank you. Whereas on March 17th, 2022, a group of Town of Clinton town property owners represented by the law firm of Vanderwater LLP, the neighbors, submitted a complaint to Michael Kazenza, the acting municipal code enforcement officer that I'll refer to as the MCEI. Whereas the neighbors' March 17th, 2022 complaint alleged that the Medical Art Sanitarium, Inc., DBA Cornerstone of Rhinebeck, which I'll refer to as Cornerstone, violated certain provisions of the town code by expanding its bed capacity and adding detoxification services to the treatment it offers to its patients, the MCEI complaint. Whereas Cornerstone operates a drug and alcohol rehabilitation facility located at 73 to 93 Serenity Hill Road, tax grid ID number 13240-6469-00-531763-000, the Cornerstone property. Whereas on April 1st, 2022, the MCEI issued a determination which, among other findings, A, confirmed that Cornerstone's status as a pre-existing non-conforming use under Section 250-80 of the Town of Clinton Town Code, the Town Code, based on the Rhinebeck Lodge for Successful Living, Cornerstone's predecessor, operating the same type of rehabilitation service facility on the Cornerstone property with a capacity of 66 patient beds prior to the town's adoption of the zoning regulation. B, classified Cornerstone's use of the Cornerstone property as an alternative care facility, an ACF, and a rehabilitation service facility, RSF. C, found that the Cornerstone property is located in the Conservation Agricultural Residential C zoning district, which ACFs are not permitted. D, interpreted relevant provisions of the town code. E, held that the bed capacity increase did not impermissibly expand or intensify Cornerstone's pre-existing non-conforming use of the Cornerstone property in violation of the town code. And F, held that the offering detoxification services to its patient population did not impermissibly expand, intensify, or change Cornerstone's pre-existing non-conforming use in violation of the town code. This was the MCEI's determination. Whereas the MCEI determination was filed with the Town of Clinton town clerk on April 6, 2022. Whereas on April 29th, 2022, the neighbors submitted an application to this board seeking an interpretation of the town code reversing the MCEI's determination and finding that Cornerstone did violate the town code. This is the ZBA application. Whereas the board concluded a public hearing in regards to the ZBA application on May 26, 2022, during which members of the public spoke and made written submissions both in support of and in opposition to the ZBA application. Whereas the board, upon stipulation of both the neighbors and Cornerstone through their representative attorney, permitted further written submission from the neighbors and Cornerstone and agreed the board's 62-day deadline to render a decision on the ZBA application commenced on July 8th, 2022. Whereas the board has reviewed and considered the statements and submissions of the public, both in support and in opposition to the ZBA application. Whereas the board has reviewed the ZBA application as well as additional written materials submitted to it by Kyle Barnett Esquire on behalf of the neighbors and Jody Cross Esquire on behalf of Cornerstone. Whereas the board now desires to adopt the findings and decisions dated August 31st, 2022, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein. Now therefore be it resolved as follows. 1. The neighbor's submission of the ZBA application was timely pursuant to Town Code Section 250-98B3. 2, that Cornerstone's increased in bed capacity to 99 constitutes an impermissible intensification and enlargement of the pre-existing non-conforming use of the Cornerstone property as an ACF RSF in violation of Section 250-80B and 250-81A of the Town Code. 3, that Cornerstone offering detoxification services to its patient population did not impermissibly intensify, enlarge, or change the pre-existing non-conforming use of the Cornerstone property as an ACF RSF in violation of Section 250-80B, 250-81A, and 250-81C of the Town Code. 4, that the board adopts the findings and decisions dated August 31st, 2022, which details and explains the rationale for the conclusion reached in this resolution. 5, that the board authorizes, directs, and empowers Chairman Malcarney to sign the findings and decisions dated August 31st, 2022, and 6, that the board authorizes, directs, and empowers the zoning board clerk to file this resolution along with the findings and decisions dated August 31st, 2022 in the office of the town clerk within 5 business days of the date of this resolution, as well as mailed copies to Jody Cross Esquire and Kyle Barnett Esquire, counsel for Cornerstone and the neighbors respectively. A second for discussion.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Any comments?
No more than I said earlier.
Okay, great. All right, so we will start with the voting. Frank? Okay.
What do you say?
He votes in favor. He's an aye vote. Ron?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Norma?
Aye.
Russell?
Aye.
Charles?
Aye.
And my vote is an aye vote as well. Okay, so this is the interpretation that we have. Do you have a comment or a question?
If I could, my name is Michael Zarin. I'm the one whose letterhead just tortured you with all the submissions, and I apologize. I appreciate your indulgence. I'd like to make a verbal application to this board based on the decision. Essentially, based on, I think, the empathy that was expressed tonight and taken on the face value, and in the interest of fairness to those residents that are currently at the facility, those that are scheduled to attend, and the critical nature of the service that's provided that I think you all recognize to the community and to this very needy population at a time, of great strain for the pandemic and the opioid epidemic. And the fact that this facility has operated 99 beds since 2006, and it has relied on the opinions of two opinions by at least two by zoning enforcement officers over the years, and the fact that it has been a good neighbor for 40 years and it's not seeking to expand its facilities or alike, we would respectfully ask this board to stay their decision until such time as a decision is rendered on the Article 78 that we intend to bring to appeal this. There's precedent both in your code, there's precedent in the law. It's interesting in the for subdivision applications, it's in your code, it's an automatic stay. If somebody challenges, brings an Article 78 to, it doesn't mention the ZBA per se, but it's the same concept. Interestingly, there's a bill before the Senate currently in committee that's supported statewide, specifically for making an automatic stay for ZBA decisions that are appealed to Article 78. So this board clearly has the discretion, broad discretion, and it's done in many municipalities to stay your decision while we appeal it with an Article 78. And you can do that by saying, look, we'll stay it for, the 30-day appeal period, and if within that time an appeal is made, that we would ask you to stay it until the court renders a decision on our appeal. Obviously, there may be motions to the Supreme Court on the topic, and they will take whatever actions they feel is appropriate. But as a measure of fairness, as a measure to many of the things that you spoke about in the history and circumstances surrounding this case, we would respectfully ask you to consider that. And it's one, again, that has far sweeping precedent, both throughout the land use community. So,
Yeah, I would say in general, any enforcement of this would be taken at the town board level. And so, certainly your request seems very reasonable. I don't see why they would have any issue, with that during this time. But to me, that would be a town board determination, a decision.
and I agree with you. The ZBA does not have its own enforcement powers.
Correct, yeah.
And you're absolutely correct.
We're
in
just
that.
making the decision, but that would be up to them.
Could we ask this board to at least pass a good faith the favor of the board or the opinion of the board that can be conveyed to the town board on this subject? Take a straw vote on it?
Have any?
I don't think that would be inappropriate if that's the gesture.
It's not enforceable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a non-binding vote.
Yeah.
It's not binding, it's up to you guys. It would be.
Yeah. Or you want to just let them take?
It's
let
like
them
planning
handle it?
boards sending their opinion over to you on ZBA applications, non-binding.
Okay.
It's not a binding
Yeah.
vote, so I
Yeah.
don't,
Yeah. So we're kind of the consensus that I'm hearing is to.
I just don't think it's our position to do that. Like I said, it's up to the town if they're gonna follow up on this, and any enforcement action, obviously, I would assume that if you're taking an Article 78, it's unlikely that they're gonna do anything until that is decided.
Well, it's certainly their discretion, and you're absolutely correct. I'm just suggesting this board, who has heard the testimony and has been the primary board on the decision-making, I think if you were to indicate the spirit of the board, it would certainly, I think, carry some favor. And again, it's no different than the planning board sending over recommendation to you on a ZBA application. You're not bound by it, but it's the spirit of that board.
Sure. We will definitely take that under advisement. Thank you.
All right. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay. What is your name?
Wendy.
Do you want to, sure.
I'm not prepared, but I would like to ask if I might. We were told during the hearings by Mr. Raplansky, we asked specifically, well, if you want 99 patients, how many patients do you have currently? And what has it been, what has the population been? And we were told, oh, we don't have anything like 99 now. We have 66, and it's been 66 for the past year. So if they're functioning at 66, I don't understand what the big problem is if they are told you must remain at 66. Are they going to go out, bring more people in to get up to the 99?
So
I think that's a fair question.
Sure. This goes again to our responsibility is to make the determination, which we have made, and then the enforcement is not in our preview. That's going to be up to the town board.
So we will leave here tonight with your decision that they have to go back to 66.
That is correct.
Okay.
So it's 68 is the actual
68.
number. They've kind of gone back and forth on the number
Right.
when in different applications, but yeah, it would be 68.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I just want to clarify, since I don't really understand the legality.
Sure.
Section 78 or whatever,
And Article 78.
they're threatening to sue the town in order to have you
Basically
change?
challenging our determination.
It's appealing our decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like going to a higher court.
Which is their right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, any further discussion? All right, we will move on to... We are done, yes.
We're done. We're doing.
Minutes. You're welcome to... Do we have minutes to review?
Yes.
All right. So, you're welcome to stay for the minute review, or not. We can dig them up.
I found an error, and it was actually my error, and I did the motion. Page 3, my error.
Good job, guys.
Yeah, they read it, we don't have any comments. Okay, well, I'm putting it.
Oh, you're putting it out, okay, so we'll trade emails. I'm gonna need that for record. Good night, everyone, thank you. Bye, guys, good night, good night. Have a good Labor Day.
What people doing? What's up? You guys in here?
Finally saw you at work.
About time. All right, we are looking at the minutes from May 26, 2022. Okay. Let's start on page 1. We're going to just kind of go through this. That way, if you have any notes, we can go through them. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6.
Excellent job on the minutes.
Holy smokes.
Excellent
Great.
job on the minutes.
Great job.
Sleep 24/7.
Page 7. Page 8.
I gotta tell you guys, it was a lot easier to just read this than to sit here. I feel so damn guilty of this.
Well, you should.
Right? You took your nice vacation.
You were in a much better place with family. That's a good place to be. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11.
At least nobody followed me home.
Page 12.
Oh,
Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Page 17. Page 18. Page 19. Page 20. Page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Page 24. Page 25. Page 26. Page 27. Page 28. Page 29. Just one question. Have we had more than 129 pages? The minutes? I think this is the
No, that's
longest,
the public
the longest I've seen
I know, you know.
in the past
Yes, I said to myself,
18
that's
years.
it, I can't read this anymore. Let you guys read and find
You did-
corrections, because I cannot.
You did a great job. All right, I'd like to make
I think
a,
we did. Oh,
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes from the meeting, May 26, 2022. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
All right.
All right,
with
so
compliments.
approved. Yeah, great job, Arlene. Okay, now we have the minutes.
I could get from you, thank you.
Yes, yeah, great. July 28th, 2022. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page
These go so
4, yeah.
I wasn't here to say stupid things that Arlene couldn't remember.
I know.
She said, I know, she agreed with me.
No, that's not.
I wasn't here, so
Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. And page 7. I like. Yeah. And you sounded great. All right, I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes for July 28th, 2022.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So moved.
Oh, did you? Sorry, I missed that.
Russ seconded. All in favor. Russ and Norma both did, so you can pick. Okay, any other discussion that we need? Were there any other minutes that I didn't have?
No, good. Our next
Okay.
thing is September, I think, what is it? September 23rd, I think.
Oh, okay.
29th. All right, everybody's gonna hear September,
22nd?
22nd. 22nd.
Wow.
I have no idea.
Yep,
No, I look at the calendar hanging
it's in
on
my
the wall.
schedule.
I'm supposed to be at the meeting.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.